Hello, welcome to this MagiCAD for Revit webinar. Today it's an overview really of the entire module that is the common tools. We're going to look through each of the tools in turn in a very, very high level, maybe with a quick, very brief demonstration of a couple of the tools just to show the function or the application of each. But for any kind of detail of each of the tools, we'll have to obviously consult with a different video or produce a different video for each of those. So as we go along, I'll try and point out which videos you can refer to for each of the tools in a bit more detail in turn. So firstly, if we just go into Revit and have a look at the toolbar here, those familiar with MagiCAD will know that it installs these tabs at the top within Revit. It's completely integrated into Revit. And this common tab will always install with any of these disciplines. So if you purchase a ventilation module, piping, electrical, then the common tab will always be installed alongside that, and a license provided for the common tools as well. So just to recap, reiterate, it is not a separate module that you can purchase, and it's not a separate license that you need to purchase in addition to anything here. So it's complete with the vent, piping, elec. So in the common tools itself, we have a number of productivity tools that can quick little apps, I suppose is another way of saying it, that can help sometimes any Revit user or just MEP, I guess, in some cases, doesn't really matter which, but we're only concentrating on the MEP side, of course. So everything I show today will be mainly focused on MEP solutions. And all of these tools can be accessed, say, from this common tab and used on any given Revit project as you see fit. For most of them, you don't even need to have a MagiCAD project as such. You don't need MagiCAD itself to produce the project. You can use it on existing projects in the main. There are some small restrictions to that, depending on what parameters are available, etc. But generally, you can use this on any given project. So if you receive a project, if you're a contractor and you receive it from a consultant, then the tools should also work in a similar manner as I'm going to show you now. So the first tool I'm going to look at is this Builder's Work. This is one of our main tools in here, one of the most popular tools that we provide. It's an automatic Builder's Work generation. So very quickly, so I'm going to jump very quickly through all these tools. So don't worry if you don't understand what's actually happening in terms of the functionality or the actual the process, but I just want to explain its purpose and how it works at, say, an extremely high level. So you've got some various settings. You can choose how different offsets function, different services with different shapes of services, etc. All sorts of functions in here. I say this is one of the videos. We do have a separate video on Builder's Work itself. So if you like this, you want to know more, have a look at our feature webinar playlist, and you'll see an actual Builder's Work sort of 20-minute video that goes in a bit more depth about this. So when you've done all your settings there, you can then run the tool from here. It's got various filters. You can choose different objects. You can choose linked models, linked MEP, linked structures, linked architecture, all sorts of options in there. You can choose which sorts of elements in MEP and structure or architecture that you want to filter, and obviously check for interference between them to create the holes. And once you've ran that, it will then create these provisions, and then you can send them off to the architect, and then you can send them off to structures, and then when you receive the models back, they'll cut the hole. So eventually what you should receive is something that looks a bit like this. And you can see these holes have been generated automatically in the model using that tool. So you can see there it's put a slot in there for various services, whether it's a bank of pipes or ducts, and you can see as it goes through the corridor down here, you can see it puts individual like rectangular holes in, circular. All that's configurable. like I say, you can go into more detail in another video that we have. And we provide, very importantly, this tool, which is a free add-in. You can see it appears in the add-ins tab, not the MagiCAD tab. That's because it's not a MagiCAD paid-for licensed tool. It's free to use for architects and structures. So the idea is they receive your provisions, your requests for openings, and they can go into here and they can comment on these different. They can accept it or say okay and things like that, or reject it and say too large or whatever it is. That's the tool that they use for assessing all the different openings. So it makes it very easy for them to jump around the project. If I click show, it will just jump straight to the actual provision for opening. You can see there, they can very easily see a 3D image of what's being asked for, and also in the background you can see it jumps to it in the model itself. And as you go through, they can just go yes, yes, no, 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 wow, they see fit. And then they can actually create the openings using that, which is grayed out at the moment because I'm in the MEP model. Of course, you can use it as well as MEP engineers. When you receive the comments back, you can jump around the model and have a look at all the various comments and zoom to the location if you want to have a look and interrogate it a bit more. So it's quite straightforward to use, really, once you get the hang of it, and you can see the results very, very quickly in the 3D. And then if I just jump into a builder's work layout, you can see as well that it actually places the builder's work in it's a customized layout, but you can see there that it looks a bit more like a traditional builder's work drawing, and you can start tagging these, etc. And I'll come to that a bit later. So that's quite a nice process to work through, as well as the 3D model. You've also got a deliverable as well in front of you, instantly, automatically created as part of that process. So onto the next tool. So I'm going to look at this split segments in this common tab, which is the next one along. I'm just going to go through these sequentially. By the way, they're not in particular order, just going from left to right. So I think I'll go into my containment view, make it quite easy to view what's happening. All this is a way of splitting vent pipe electrical services, so cable tray, pipework, ductwork, into cut lengths, and you can do it by family here. You can choose a priority order of cut lengths, and once you choose that, you can choose how you want to create it across the whole project or in the view or whatever it is, and press OK, and all it does, it goes through and creates cut lengths. So you can see here it's now gone to predefined cut lengths of ideally 2 meters long, which is what we wanted as a priority. And if you can't do it, obviously at the end, you'll obviously chop it down as you see fit. So this is the sort of thing that you might perhaps use for a little bit more advanced than design, maybe into more fabrication. If you want to get some accurate cut lengths for pipework or ductwork or cable tray or conduit, and you can also use this function here, which we'll come to in a minute, the bill of materials, to report like number of lengths of 3 meters, number of lengths of 2 meters of, etc. So that's the split segments. The next tool is this. This is new, a couple of releases ago. This is the clash detection, and this offers you. Let's go to this view here. This offers you the means to do live clash detection as you're modelling. So you can actually identify where you've got hard and soft clashes as defined in this tool here, in these settings. So the idea is, if you want to, you can turn real-time clash detection on. If you don't do that, you can also run a clash report as well. So you can do like a traditional type of clash report. But the big advantage here, I mean, the Revit's got its own interference check, which is okay, and it's also a single operation at a time, retrospective clash checking. It doesn't do real-time clash detection like this. And the big advantage of this is, where Revit only has categories of its own, we can actually go into deeper categories and then also families of those categories. So you can go, I want to only detect certain ductwork types, or only detect certain air terminals that are clashing, or whatever it is. So you can really filter and customize this quite deeply. So I'm just going to give you a very quick example. So if I want to check, say, ducts, pipes, and cable tray against, let's say, architectural walls, or you could just click in architecture if you want and just do the whole lot. Let's do that. Or you can filter by, obviously, expanding that and selecting different objects. And then go into configure, and let's choose my hard and soft clashes. You can choose clearance zones around different objects should you wish to do that as well. Around cable tray, you might want to have something slightly different above the cable tray, like 20 rather than 50, whatever it is. And once you set this up and press OK, it'll now scan through the current view that you're in, and then you can start to see that soft and hard clashes are appearing in the project. So you can visually very easily see where you've got issues that are being created by obviously clashes through each whether the architecture or each other, and obviously if that's obviously that's the architecture side, I can then go and clash the MEP with each other as well, which I want to add that in there now, and you can then update as I'm doing now. Anytime you want, you can just update the selections and then press OK. Now you'll see some more clashes, because obviously I'll have some MEP clashes going. You can see there I've got MEP clashes in there. And just make it slightly more transparent as a view. It's a bit easier to see the clashes there. So you can see I've got hard clashes in red, I've got soft clashes in yellow, etc., etc. So very good tool, and you can also, like I say, run a clash report as well using that, and just run a clash report straight out of there and export that to PDF, BCF, my BIM collaboration format, Excel, how you wish to do it, and you can see there it'll just go through the whole project or the whole view or whatever you want to do, and report clashes to you in this way. So it's quite a nice little tool, that. On to the next one is clean up and deliver. This tool is a very nice sort of add-in or app. There's other ones available, but we provide one in MagiCAD anyway. But our tool is quite nice in a way which gives you full customizability of the export in terms of what you wish to strip out. So whether it's work sets, you can obviously use Revit functions like audit and delete revisions and things like that. Strip out manufacturer details, so you can customize which categories of objects you wish to strip out, and you can remove the family name, remove the manufacturer data. So in fact, if I click on this air terminal, and then you can see there's a manufacturer field, which is a standard Revit parameter, it'll just wipe all that out. So you wouldn't see any of the SWI gone or anything like that, it'll just be wiped clear. So instead of going into each and every single family and deleting it and spending hours of your time trying to wipe all that data, you can just rip it straight out of here. And you can rename the families just in case there's a model name, like in here, I've got a family type name of Colibri, which is the Swigon grill, which obviously would give the game away. So I can rename the family and type name, and it will just rename it as Air Terminal Type 1 or 2 or 3 sequentially, and then rename the family type A, B, and C as well. Also, you can wipe out links. That irritating thing when you get a project and it says like links not found and there's 7 links still. You can just wipe all those out as well. Then you can remove sheets and views. You can filter through there by Revit's own types, whether it's drafting views, elevation sheets, that kind of thing. And anything that exists in this project as a sheet or a view can be wiped out. And then if you select it for export, everything else is wiped out. And then, of course, you can do the same for legends, and you can filter whether you want to wipe out legends and schedules as well, and choose which ones you want to keep in. I might want to keep in the sheet list or something, whatever it is. And when you hit run, that'll just strip the whole project out and do a save as, which is this target file here. So quite straightforward to use, really good tool. So on a Friday, when you're issuing a project, you can just use this tool, clean it all up and send it out. And if you save a selection file here, you can then save the same settings every single week that you're using it, so you don't have to remember what you did last week. Next tool to look at, bill of materials maybe. This is a tool where you can customize exactly which data you'd like to see about any object in any way. I'll give you a quick example. If I say I want to choose ventilation, all these reports are completely configurable, as I just said, in the data set there. And you can choose how you want to export this from the whole project or current view or whatever. And then you can choose which systems you might want to get a bill of materials. So for example, if I was doing piping, I might only want to have hot water return for whatever reason as a schedule. And bill of materials normally to do with quantities and costing, but it could also be for your own purposes, like to know an entire length of pipe, or for a volume calculation or something like that. So or you want to know how many grills have got on a certain floor, or how many light fittings have got, whatever it is. So it doesn't have to be just about costing, but that's obviously what generally bill of materials is all about. And you just press OK, and then that will just scan through the project, and then it'll report back like a bill of materials. So you can see here that it's got all the various fittings, sizing fittings there. It's got my bends, it's got my juicers, everything I selected, and it's got the lengths of each one, the numbers of. So again, if you did cut lengths, you can put how many, like 2 meter lengths have I got at 250 by 200, that kind of thing. And then you can just export that into Excel using that. So quite a nice tool. So it saves you creating all the Revit schedules, and then Revit's multi-category schedules aren't always that easy to use and things like that. So it's a very nice, quick way of getting information out of the model there. So on to the next one is this IFC exporter. Obviously Revit's got its own IFC exporter, so if you've got any familiarity with that, that's okay. But our exporter, the big advantage of this is that you can actually configure, I'll give you an example, you can configure any Revit sort of category here to be mapped to an IFC category. And then the big advantage here is you can choose any single parameter that exists within the project, the shared parameter, project parameter, doesn't matter. Anything that exists for these categories can be then mapped into the IFC export against an IFC property. So description goes in there as text, and that's etc. etc. So big advantage here, let's say in the UK doing some Kobe data drop, instead of putting Kobe into a spreadsheet, which can be quite cumbersome, you can still excuse me, you can still meet BIM level 2 by exporting to IFC with all the Kobe data in it, for example, as a format. So this would really help you deliver, say, Kobe, because you could then put all your Kobe parameters in here, shared, put another category in there for shared parameters for Kobe, and then just map the Kobe parameters into the tool for whether it's air terminals or mechanical equipment or light fittings, whatever it is. And when you export it, all those parameters and the values will be available for you. So it's a really good tool for exporting to IFC, and of course IFC is designed to be used as a tool and a format to be shared on project teams with no format requirements, so it's completely compatible with Celebri, Navisworks, MagiCAD, Revit. So that's the whole point of it. So that IFC is a very good tool should you have to use IFC. BCF Manager, that's BIM collaboration format, if you didn't know. And what this does, it allows project teams to communicate in this BIM collaboration format. You can see I've got all my clash report there, and you can see the automatic screenshot of my clashes and things like that. It's quite nice. But the idea of this BIM collaboration format is that you can share this data, this information with anyone. Again, so if you exported an IFC, you could then export BIM collaboration format like this, and you could then load that same BCF file into Navisworks, into Celebri. It's fully compatible, and then you can start putting comments in there and saying this clash isn't going to matter, or whatever it is. You can do that and communicate with your architect, project team. And the idea that BIM collaboration format, it's not a MagiCAD thing, it's an industry thing, but we just put a tool that gives you a function to be able to use BCF within Revit. And the idea is you communicate with this, and then you can just share this report with the whole project team. Everyone can put comments in, and the idea is that you can zoom to various functions. You can isolate, in different views. You can isolate these objects, and you can zoom to those objects should you wish to, wherever that is. It zooms straight in there, so you can see anything. These functions are available in like, say, Celebri as well, and then you can just build up this like comment list. So when you go to those BIM coordination meetings, then everyone's like just typing away in Excel or Word and stuff like that, and emailing version 1.7 around and all that. This is just a much easier way of doing it. Of course, everyone needs to be on BCF as well, otherwise it's not going to work. But I would really encourage projects to use BCF now, because it's very, very popular. I say it's not a MagiCAD format, it's an industry format. The next tool I want to look at is the spreadsheet import-export function. There are some other available on the market, in app stores and things like that. Generally, the ones that I've seen have to use Revit schedules to export to Excel and back in again. But this MagiCAD one doesn't need to do that. It actually imports and exports directly from the model rather than from a schedule. So you don't need to create a Revit schedule to do this. So if I go to spreadsheet export, very, very briefly, one example, you can export anything, any parameter about any category. But I'm going to export something about spaces, and all you do is choose your category, choose your parameters, and then they appear in that list. And then when you export it, here's what I've made earlier just to save time. You can see that it exports all the spaces, but all the values happen to be blank in this project. So I fill all these out, and here's one I've made earlier, filling it all out. So you can put Excel formulas in there like that if you want to. It's totally free to use Excel functionality, which is much better than Revit schedules, where you can't even copy and paste in Revit schedules. Where in here you can put formulas, copy, paste, sort, whatever you want to do. And the idea is that you could export this, give it to an engineer and say, right, you fill out your room data sheets, you fill out your strategy drawings, whatever it is. And then once they're finished with that, all you do is go back to import, and then you just find that file to import, and you get a little summary screen saying what's changed, what's new, and you can see all the room data information is now coming in from Excel, where originally it was all blank. And you press accept, and you can see that first, you can see there that I've now got environmental strategy. It picked up all these from the Excel automatically, didn't type them in Revit, and then the colours are all represented in there now. So you can see you can do a stage like 2 strategy drawing just from an Excel sheet using that tool, really easy. Engineer doesn't even know how to use Revit, you can just give him a spreadsheet. And then you can see there that some design loads have got in there, spaces, just with watts per square metre at stage 2, so you can very easily have a look at your design load, see what's happening in each space as a rule of thumb before you do your detailed calculations at stage 4. So very, very nice tool, the spreadsheet import export, and you can imagine it can be used for many, many things. You could do Kobe if you really wanted to with it, or you can export like manufacturer data, or whatever it is, loads and loads of different applications for that. And in the new version, you will be getting an export to sheets as well, so you can do your sheets in Excel and import them back in through that. It's also quite a nice feature. Next tool I want to look at is this running index. So it's a means of actually numbering your objects in whatever way you wish. So, for example, in this view, I'm going to load up some grills here, for example. And normally, the process for most people I've seen that have a tool like this, every single object, they go down here, click on it, and then type a new value in Mark, which just takes forever for hundreds and thousands of objects. It's just, and you make a mistake, and you've got like 2 number 55s, you've got a blank, you've got a gap. Yeah, it's absolute havoc. So this tool is really handy for automatic numbering. So you just say, right, I want to number supply grills. This is all set up in a configuration file, and basically you can auto number it, or you can select it and manually do it. And you can see as you click, it just adds the numbering into there, so the parameter is now updated with the new number, and it knows the numbering system from other objects in the view or in the project, how you set it up. And you can see there you can just number things automatically, and then you can then manage these numbering systems very easily from this manager, and you can see or any numbering system that you wish to see in here. So you can see there we've got a numbering system from 1 to 8, which I just did there. If I want to rename that or renumber it, you can do that. You can show gaps, show empty items. You can see ones that are missing numbers. If you want to add those in, you can then number them from 9 to 23, for example. They're now numbered. So really handy, really good tool for numbering anything. You can builders work objects, things like that, and put it onto a schedule, and you can obviously schedule by reference number, to complete the exercise like that. Okay, another tool we've got here is merge parameters, and you can push values from like up to 5 parameters, I believe, into one target parameter. So a good use for that might be, for example, if I click on a terminal here, I might have a type parameter called, I don't know, like client. So let's say your client has said, I want to have all references for my equipment, or my terminals, or my light fittings, or everything in the building, whatever it is. The client said, I want you to have a type code, uniclass code, and then my own personal, FM code, which is this reference here. And obviously it would take you an extremely long time to then create a new parameter to then copy and paste this data, and that data, and it might be by instance, which is even worse than type. So it will take you forever to start copying all that out. So what this merge parameters does, and I'll give you an example, is it actually, you can configure it in here, and you can say, right, what I want to do, here's my example here. I want to merge this client product reference with a user code. That's how the client wants it done. So I choose my parameters from the source here, and then configure them in here. You can move them around, change the the order and things like that. You get a little preview how it's going to look. And then when I go into the actual merge parameters now, what it does, it will, if I choose my client reference merging one, let's say, I'll do the whole project at once, press update, and now I'll go through the whole project, and it will push all the user codes, all the client reference codes for any of the category, which is in this case air terminals, and it will push them into the target parameter, which I defined. And you'll see I've even chosen a target parameter in here, which is actually an instance parameter. And you can see, so you can even take 2 type parameters and push it into an instance, which I've done here. So there's my target parameter, and there's my code. And if I click on the next grill, you can see that it's done it for like all grills in the project. So it's just push those together. So it may not seem much, but when you have that situation, and some of our customers have had it, and it saves them absolutely hours of time by having that function. So very useful one to know about. The next tool is the find and replace. This is a good way of like swapping out like type A for type B fittings or something like that. So for example, I might want to swap out all of this type or just one of this type. So in this case, I'm just going to swap out this one, and I want to change it with something else. And I can choose whether it comes from our cloud, so it can download from the library. You can have a look at the library in there. So I want to choose this one or something like that from the cloud, or I can choose it from the project. So I'm going to choose something that already exists in the project. But the nice thing about this is I can look at the properties of these objects in this tool and then say, right, I've got a spigot of 100 diameter there. I want to match that up. So what's this one? This one, product properties. That's also a spigot of 100 diameter. Perfect. That's going to work. That's what I want. And then I'll just apply, and then what you'll see, you'll notice that this grill will change type to that one. And I press close, and if I just draw in this section here, you'll see that it actually, if it's got a bit of flex on the end, it actually maintains the installation height. That tool's quite clever like that. It'll maintain, so even though the plenum box might change, the spigot might change in location or height, the actual installation height hasn't changed, and it's just bent and flexed up down to meet. So very useful tool for that. And you could do it for swapping out light fittings and things like that, type A to type B of manufacturers. Only 3 more tools to go. I'm conscious that we're just getting to the end of the half-hour session here, so just 3 more to go, then I'll conclude the webinar. So tag tool, I'm just going to show you an example of this is used for. So go back to that builder's work layout I did before. If we go to the tag tool, you will see that in Revit world, where you annotate and tag, you can only tag by category. But in this tag tool, for many instances, you can actually have different tags for different categories. So if you had like, you want a different tag for a different duct fitting, because a bend, you might want to say, I don't know, the angle or something like that. But then for a reducer, there is no angle. It's a in and out diameter. So you might have different tags for different things. But in Revit world, you can only tag duct fittings by that category. So you have to manually change each tag every time you tag a different subcategory, which is a bit of a pain. But in here, you can actually tag by category or by subcategory. So a good example is I've got builders work. Some of them are circular and some are rectangular. If I didn't have this tool, my diameter tag label would be 0, and then it'd be missing the X by X or X by Y. But now when I have these two different, you can see there, that's a rectangular tag and that's a circular tag. By the way, these are types of tags, they're not actually the tags, so you can do subtypes in here. So you don't have to have a different family for each tag, you can have subtypes. If I press tag now from here, it'll automatically detect that I've got, that one is a rectangular one, that one's a circular one, that one's rectangular, and you can see automatically it's changing that. If I just use Revit's own tools, it would just use whatever tag type or family type of that tag that it wanted to put in there, which is obviously quite annoying because you have to go back in later and choose which one you think it is, depending on what shape it is. So that tag tool is very, very, very handy for that. Another tool is the legend tool. So I'm going to show you one for ventilation. So if I click legend, it will generate a Revit legend automatically based on how you configure it. So I'm just going to create a ventilation legend. These templates are all configurable. This is one I've done earlier. And I'm just going to do it based on the current view for vent, but you can do it by level or by whole project or whatever you want to do. I'll just generate a new legend, and you should see that it will create this legend now. And you can see that it puts a legend component in. These are defined by Revit. You can see it's one of these in this list, just by normal Revit. But it also puts like a description, manufacturer, the family image, and then number of items. So you can even do a schedule per floor if you want it to, a different category. So really flexible, and you can just drag that straight onto a sheet as you see fit, which I'm going to show you next. It's the last tool, is the sheet manager. So if I go to a sheet, for example, so I've got my sheet there. There's the legend that I just created. It's in the top of the sheet. I've got some abbreviations as well for my my ventilation services in this sheet, and I've got my layout. So I want to create maybe like 5 stories of this. So normally in Revit you have to go to new sheet and manually drag each and every legend or view or whatever it is on there, or you go to a sheet schedule, then put it on, you've got to drag it into the right position, etc. But with this sheet manager, all you do is choose a template sheet, so it reads all the sheets available. You pick a sheet that you want, so in my case I'm going to choose ventilation layout, this one here. So that's that sheet below. And what the tool does, it reads in the grayed out section at the top, it reads the exact component. So it's got sheet number, sheet name, it's got a legend, which is that, it's got another legend, which is that, and it's also got a floor plan, which is 0. In Revit, you can only have 1 floor plan per sheet. That's why this will be grayed out or missing from here. But in the next one, I can create a new sheet called MEP02. This is going to be for the first floor here. And then I'm going to choose the first floor layout, but I'm going to keep the legends the same. I could always change them, of course, if I wanted to, but I'm going to keep them the same. Click new, and now I've got a new layout, and then I'll change that to second floor, and then choose my second floor layout, and press OK, and now it's going to create automatically. You can see there the sheets. So there's my first floor layout in there, and you should find that everything is nicely in place, exactly in line with the previous view. And then I go to my second floor layout, and then do the same thing there. And there's my second floor layout with everything on. So the sheet manager is a really quick and easy tool to create a load of sheets based on a template sheet and configure exactly what you want to appear on there, and it will automatically line up all of these things on the sheet as well, from the template, so everything will be like lined up perfectly on your project as well. So that's the end of the overview. I've gone through that as quickly as I can without missing the main points. Thanks very much for staying in the webinar for over 30 minutes. If you'd like to know a bit more, or you want to look at some more videos or contact us, then go to these channels on the screen now, or get in touch via the information on the screen now at sales, by email or phone. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks very much.